In section 4.4, we will talk about dividing polynomials. So let's divide 8x to the 6th minus 4x squared divided by 2. Now before that, let's take a look at this rule. If you have a numerator that is divided by a single monomial, then we take each term of the numerator and divide it by that same monomial. For example, here we would take 8x to the 6th and divide that by 2. Then we would take negative 4x squared and divide that by 2. Now 8 over 2 is 4, and the x to the 6th remains x to the 6th. 4 divided by 2 is 2, and so we have a negative 2x squared. This is our final answer. So just take each term of the numerator and divide it by the monomial on the denominator. All right, let's take a look at the next one. We have 12x cubed. We divide that by 6x squared. We have a negative 30x squared. We divide that by 6x squared. We have a positive 18x. We divide that by 6x squared. And then we have a negative 3, and we divide that by 6x squared. So let's simplify. First off, 12 divided by 6 is 2. Now remember the rule of dividing exponents. If you have x to the a divided by x to the b, then we keep the same base and we subtract a minus b. So it's always numerator minus denominator. So if I subtract 3 minus 2, this gives me x to the first. And I don't have to write x to the first, so I can just write 2x. For the second one, I have 30 divided by 6 is 5. And then whenever we have the same term on the numerator and denominator, we have x squared and x squared, those just cross out. So I have no x's left. Okay, so for the next one, I have 18x over 6x squared. So let me first divide the 18 and 6, which gives you a positive 3. And then remember, when you divide exponents, you subtract their powers. It's always a numerator minus denominator. So it's 1 minus 2. And now for the last one, we have a 3 on the numerator and a 6 on the denominator. And if I reduce that, then I'm going to say 3 goes into 3 once, and it goes into 6 twice. So I reduce it. And this becomes a 1/2. So 1 on the numerator, 2 on the denominator. The x squared, that has nowhere to go, so it's going to stay on the denominator. Let's simplify this. I have a 2x, I have a negative 5. Now 1 minus 2 is negative 1. So this gives me 3x to the negative first. And then I have minus 1 over 2x squared. But remember, we cannot have a negative exponent. So what happens when you have a negative exponent? An x to the negative first, that's equal to 1 over x. To make this exponent positive, you flip it to the denominator and it becomes positive. So I'm going to rewrite this as 3 over x. And this is my final answer. Remember that we cannot write any answer with negative exponents. Okay, next one, we have 12x to the 6th divided by 12z squared. And then you have minus 12x to the 4th divided by 12z squared. So this one's kind of a trick question because notice we have different variables. If you have different variables, we cannot divide. So we cross those out and we have x to the 6th over z squared. Sometimes students make a mistake and they subtract the exponents, which we cannot do because we have different bases. Same thing over here, the 12 and 12, they cross out. And so all I have left is x to the 4th divided by z squared. Once again, I cannot subtract the exponents because they have different bases. So this is my final answer. Okay, lastly, we have a negative 18y to the 15th. We divide that by 6y to the 4th. We have a 24y to the 11th. We divide that by 6y to the 4th. And then we have a 6y to the 7th. We divide that by 6y to the 4th. So what do we get? Negative 18 divided by 6 is negative 3. With the y's, 15 minus 4 is y to the 11th. 24 divided by 6 is 4. 11 minus 4 is y to the 7th. Now finally, I have a 6 divided by 6. Crosses out, this gives you a 1. And then I have y to the 7th divided by y to the 4th. And that'll give us y to the 3rd. Because remember, you're always subtracting 7 minus 4. 11 minus 4, 15 minus 4. It's always the numerator subtracted by the denominator. That's it. Short but sweet section.